It began quietly. On July 21, 1979, a 14-year-old boy vanished. 4 days later, another teen went missing, both were found murdered. It was the start of a nightmare. Over the next 2 years, 29 black children and young men would be slain in Atlanta. A dark pall fell over the city as fear and tension mounted. Parents kept their kids indoors. Police patrols flooded the streets. Who was killing Atlanta's youth? The murders continued into 1980 and 1981, seemingly without pattern or motive. Bodies turned up in wooded lots, roadside ditches, even rivers. Most victims were boys, as young as 7 and as old as 28. The city was on edge. Some feared a racist motive, others whispered about a serial killer stalking children. Law enforcement formed a special task force and even brought in the FBI. By late spring 1981, the killer's methods shifted, bodies began appearing in the Chattahoochee River. Investigators decided to stake out Atlanta's bridges, watching and waiting in the dark. May 22, 1981. 2:52 a.m. on a quiet bridge, a surveillance team hears a loud splash in the river. They peer into the darkness and see ripples disturb the surface. Headlights suddenly flash on. An automobile speeds across the bridge, then turns around and races back, as if fleeing the scene. The officers radio ahead and give chase. They stop the car at a checkpoint. It's a white Chevrolet station wagon. The driver is a 23-year-old African-American man, a local freelance photographer named Wayne Williams. Williams tells police he was en route to a friend's house and had stopped to look for a missing address. The officers have no body, no weapon, only a suspicious splash, and they let him go for the moment. But the investigation's focus has shifted. 2 days later, the body of 27-year-old Nathaniel Cater washes up downstream, not far from that very bridge. Cater had been asphyxiated, likely strangled by a chokehold. He was last seen with Wayne Williams the day before, around 9 p.m., walking down a downtown Atlanta street. Investigators dig deeper into Wayne Williams' background, and their suspicion hardens into resolve. This mild-mannered aspiring music producer is about to become the prime suspect in the Atlanta child murders. Within days, police search Williams' home, cars, and possessions. What they find will transform the case. On the bodies of victims, technicians had quietly been collecting fibers and hairs, hoping these microscopic clues might lead somewhere. Now, under the glow of forensic lab lights, those fibers reveal their secrets. The carpet in Williams' bedroom is a distinctive green with an unusual trilobal shape, a type of fiber called Wellman 181B, rare even in 1981. Fibers of that exact green shade and shape turn up on multiple victims. A violet acetate fiber from Williams' bedspread is discovered in a victim's hair. Yellow fibers from a blanket in his bedroom show up on another victim's clothing. Fibers from the carpet of his home and the trunk liner of his cars are found clinging to the bodies of several children. In the case of 21-year-old Jimmy Ray Payne, one of the 2 victims Williams was ultimately charged with killing, investigators found fibers from Williams' bedspread, carpet, blanket, and a blue throw rug on Payne's body. They even recovered dog hairs, hairs consistent with Williams' German Shepherd, on Payne and Cater, among others. These microscopic strands form a chilling tapestry of evidence. In their 1983 decision on the case, the Georgia Supreme Court noted that forensic experts believed certain of the fibers associated with the victims matched others recovered from Williams' home and cars, establishing an inference that Williams had been in contact with the victims before their deaths. In other words, the fibers told a story: the victims had been in Wayne Williams' environment, his bedroom, his vehicles, his very hands, prior to their deaths. One FBI analyst went so far as to testify it was virtually impossible for fibers from 11 of the 12 victims examined to have originated anywhere other than Williams' home or car. The odds of these matches, the prosecution argued, were beyond any reasonable coincidence. On June 21, 1981, police arrested Wayne Williams. The city of Atlanta braced for a trial that felt like the climax of a horror film. Interestingly, Williams was only charged with 2 murders, those of Nathaniel Cater, 28, and Jimmy Ray Payne, 21, both young adults, not children. The authorities focused on these cases where the evidence was strongest, especially the fiber and hair links. But the prosecution boldly presented evidence from 10 other killings of Atlanta children during the trial, arguing that a pattern of mysterious child murders proved Williams' identity as the killer. Jurors heard about case after case, they listened to witnesses, like one who swore he saw Williams with Jimmy Ray Payne near a river the night Payne disappeared. They saw charts of fiber matches linking Williams to a dozen victims. The courtroom absorbed weeks of testimony and what essentially became a trial for all the Atlanta child murders in everything but name. The defense fought back vigorously. Williams' attorneys emphasized that no one had ever seen him physically harm a child. There were no eyewitnesses to the murders, no DNA evidence back then, no confession, no murder weapon. They attacked the fiber evidence as circumstantial and questioned the new forensic methodology behind it. Could these fibers, found in a city of millions, really be so unique to Williams' home? They also protested the fundamental unfairness of the trial, that Williams was being portrayed as the culprit behind 29 murders when he faced charges for only 2. Indeed, one justice of Georgia's Supreme Court would later remark that Williams, charged with 2 murders, was forced to defend himself as to 12 separate killings, calling the state's use of all those uncharged crimes a bootstrap operation built on innuendo, suspicion and guilt by association. The defense suggested that authorities were under immense pressure to solve the case and might have turned Wayne Williams into a scapegoat for Atlanta's nightmare. After a grueling 6-week trial, the case went to the jury. Atlanta held its breath. February 27, 1982, the verdict: guilty on both counts of murder. Wayne Williams was convicted and sentenced to 2 consecutive life terms in prison. In the eyes of the law, he was now officially the Atlanta child murderer. Authorities exhaled. Within days of the conviction, the special task force was disbanded, and 23 of the 29 unsolved child murder cases are closed, attributed to Williams without further trials. The killing spree that had terrorized Atlanta had come to an end, and it ended with Wayne Williams behind bars. But the story of the Atlanta child murders refuses to rest quietly. Almost from the moment of Williams' conviction, doubts and controversies have shadowed the case. Some jurors later admitted feeling uneasy about condemning one man for so many deaths on largely circumstantial evidence. An ABC News report even suggested Atlanta officials desperately needed a culprit to stop the killings and calm public outrage, implying Williams was essentially a political scapegoat. Over the years, Williams has maintained his innocence in the child murders. He insists he never killed anyone. Yet, as of today, Wayne Williams remains in prison, and officially, the Atlanta child murders are considered solved. Atlanta finally slept again after 1981, but the ghosts of those 29 lost children and young men still haunt its history. The case that gripped the city, and the fate of Wayne Williams, leaves us with a lingering, uneasy question. Was justice truly served? Did they catch the real killer, or has a murderer walked free? The legend of the Atlanta child murders remains a chilling mystery, reminding us that the truth can be as elusive as a fiber on a fallen child's shirt, visible only to those who know how to look. And still terrifyingly easy to miss.